What can I do to make my Ubuntu experience the best possible? You may ask this question after you installed Ubuntu 18.04. It is a long-term support release, and if you install it, you probably will stick to it for a long time. This is a list of 30 things to do after installing Ubuntu Bionic Beaver to make your Ubuntu Linux experience great. Before we continue, please consider subscribing to this channel. I make Linux tutorials ranging from user-friendly Linux Mint to more advanced Arch Linux. I also run weekly series of the Linux command line tutorial. If you want to learn Linux, you will find a lot of useful information on this channel. Activate the bell notification so you won't miss any new video. For this video, I use a normal installation of Ubuntu with third-party software installed during the installation. This is what I recommend for new users. If you did a minimal install, I believe you already know what to do after the installation. If not, you still can apply all these options. Plus, you will need to install a lot of other software. There are timecodes in the description. Feel free to use them if you want to jump to one of these topics quickly. Configure the update manager and repositories. If you go to the application menu and search for updates, you will see this software and updates manager. Open it. You should have all these software sources selected. If not, select them all except the source code. Next, configure the server settings. Usually, Ubuntu pre-configures it automatically, but it won't hurt to double check it. You click Other and perform the test to find the fastest server in your location. It may take quite some time. I speed up this part of the video to save you time. After the test is done, select the recommended server. You need to enter your administrative password. Now you will be downloading the updates from the fastest server. If you change your location, for example if you move to another apartment or you travel often, you will benefit from redoing this step and updating the server information for the fastest one. Next, click on Other Software tab, and here you can select Canonical Partner Software. This repository offers some proprietary software that do not cost any money to use, but they are closed source. You don't have to do this, but if you open the terminal and check what packages are included in this repository, you can see that it mainly contains Adobe Flash plugin. Having an Adobe Flash player on your system is considered to have a security risk, so do not install it unless you really need it. From my experience, I only need it occasionally, so I install it to access some Asian websites that still require Flash, but after that I remove it. I just want to show you this option, but it is you who decides whether to install it or not. In the next tab, you can configure what updates you want and how frequently check for them. I recommend keeping these things as they are by default. If you want maximum stability, you can disable backports. Here I only recommend to sign in for live patch. This option allows applying critical kernel patches without rebooting the system. This is what Canonical has developed recently. It is a very good security feature. You click Sign in again. If you don't have an Ubuntu One account, you select I want to register an account. Click Connect. You enter information in these fields, agree with the terms, and create an account. When you have an Ubuntu One account, you go back and enter your credentials here. And click Connect. You will have to enter your administrative password, and you may also be requested to unlock your Kirin application. Do this with the same administrative password. If everything worked fine, you should see that you are signed in. Now your system will be able to apply critical security updates without rebooting. After these steps, you can close this application and reload the software cache. Finally, you can now run the software updater and install the updates. If you are curious what's going on, you can click here to see the details. After these updates, it is advised to reboot the system. Let's do that. Install drivers. You can install drivers from the same software and update application. You go to the Additional Drivers tab and wait some time while the program is analyzing your system. If your system can benefit from any proprietary drivers, you will be offered a choice here. I have VirtualBox drivers here. You may also find video card drivers and drivers for Wi-Fi card. Obviously, you need to use wired internet to install proprietary Wi-Fi drivers. After installing the drivers, reboot your system. Install Synaptic Package Manager. Search for Synaptic in your launcher, and it should offer you an option to install it. Install it. Synaptic is not the most user-friendly package manager, but it is extremely reliable. I cannot recall a single case when it failed, and I have been using it for 8 years already. Unfortunately, Ubuntu Software Center doesn't work well all the time. If you are completely new to Linux and Ubuntu, use Ubuntu Software Center to discover Linux applications, and you can also use it to install them. But I recommend you little by little learn how to use Synaptic. It is also more user-friendly than the command line. We will use it in this video a lot. Install additional codecs, Microsoft fonts, Flash and a few more useful packages. To be able to play all video and music formats, you need to install Ubuntu Restricted Extra. Search for it in Synaptic and select for installation. If you are going to play DVD, install this DVD library as well. I list all these names in the description. Feel free to copy-paste them from there. You may also want to install Java. As I have already said, Flash Player can be a security risk, but there are still cases when you need it. So if you really need, you can also install Flash Player for your browser. Search for Flash Plugin Installer and select it for installation. When all these packages are selected, click Apply. Unfortunately, there is no way to completely escape the command line in Linux. libdvd asks us to configure it from the command line. You need to copy this command, you will need it later. Click Next, Next. After the installation, close Synaptic. Open the terminal and paste the command you copied previously. Press Enter. Here you need to enter your password blindly and press Enter. Select Yes. libdvd is configured. Also, if you plan to use Synaptic a lot, I recommend installing the quick search engine for Synaptic. It's called apt-xipn index. Install it. Restart Synaptic. Now you can do a quick search here. Install microcode. Microcode is a firmware for your processor. It is recommended to install for better performance and to receive the processor firmware updates. It is good to have it on your system. To install it, open Synaptic Package Manager and search for microcode. You will see two options, AMD microcode and Intel microcode. You need to install one of these depending on your processor. If you don't know what processor you have, open Settings, go to Details, and you will find your processor model here. I have an Intel processor, so I install Intel microcode. Activate Minimize to Dock. This is the most annoying thing in Ubuntu. If you click on the icon of any open application, it will not minimize. I complained about this in my review of the previous version of Ubuntu, and it's still present in this LTS version. There is a terminal way to fix it by running this command, but I will revert it back and show you the graphical way. Go to Synaptic and install dconf editor. It is a very useful program. We will use it a few times during this video. Open it. Yes, agree to be careful. Go to org, GNOME, shell, extensions, -to-dock. Scroll down until you find Quick Action. Here you switch off the default value and select Minimize. Click on this icon to apply the changes. If you test the click on the icon, it will minimize the application. Decrease swap use. Swap is the space on your hard drive that is used to store the data when there is no enough RAM. RAM is a random access memory. It's faster than your hard drive, so it is better to use it at maximum. You can see the size of your RAM in the same Details section in the settings. Swappiness defines how aggressively your kernel will write data to swap. By default, Ubuntu has a balance value of 60, which will work on all low and high memory computers. You can check it if you open the terminal and type cat proc sys vm swappiness. Press enter. You will see the value of 60. You can force your system to use as much RAM as possible and write to the disk only when more than 90% of the RAM is in use. To do that, type gedit admin //etc/systctl.conf. Enter your administrative password, scroll down the file, and in the end add vm.swappiness = 10. Save and close the file. Reboot the system and check if the change took place. Now it shows 10, so the system will access your hard drive less frequently and will be more responsive. Another option you can enable is to use the hard drive cache. What does it do? Usually, the program waits until the data is written to the disk and it proceeds to the next step only after the write event. But you can force your program to cache the data and write it to the disk with some delay. Thus, the program will proceed to the next step without waiting for the write event to finish. In some systems, it gives a huge performance boost. To enable the hard drive cache, go to the menu and search for the disk application. Open it and make sure that the hard drive with your Ubuntu system is selected. Usually it is the one on the top. Open the menu and select Drive Settings. Go to the Write Cache tab and enable it. It gives some performance gain, but there is some trade-off. You can read here that if your system crashes or loses power, some data may be lost. So if there is electricity cut off and your computer shuts down when there is some data in the cache, the data may get lost. I think this risk is so small that the performance improvement is worth risking. But the choice is up to you. I use this option and I have no problem so far. Reduce SSD writes. There are two things that are necessary for good performance and a longer lifespan of an SSD drive. Trim to clean the drive and improve its performance, and reduced write cycles to extend the lifespan of an SSD. Ubuntu 18.04 already has trim enabled. You can check it if you run in your terminal systemctl status fstrim. As you can see, it is enabled. However, the write to SSD cycles are not reduced by default, and it may not be necessary for the latest SSDs, but it is advisable for the older SSDs. There are many ways to reduce the writes, but they are all very complicated to configure and maybe not worth your time. However, one option you can enable very easy. type in the terminal gedit admin //etc/fstab, find your SSD partitions. Usually it is every partition that has SDA in its name, and add no_time before the word errors. You need to do this for every partition you have on your SSD drive, except swap. If you have the home partition, add no_time there too. No_time will disable write action when the system only reads files. It is enabled in many distros by default, but not in Ubuntu. Save it and close the file. These settings will become active after the next reboot. Set up firewall. Ubuntu is already very secure, and activating a firewall is not an essential security measure. However, it is better to be safe, and the firewall doesn't use many resources of your system. Open Synaptic and search for GUFW. Install it. Then search for firewall in the menu and open it. Enter your password. The settings are very simple here. You just need to enable it. This should be fine for the most of the users. I think the majority of users won't use anything where you need to open ports in your firewall. If you do need to open a port, for example, you may want to use KDE Connect to connect to your Android smartphone. You select Allow, both directions, and in the application, select KDE Connect. Similarly, you can enable ports for BitTorrent client, SSH, etc. Configure Ubuntu settings. Here I will configure doc, add additional input languages, install some languages packages, including spell checking packages, activate night mode, set the user photo. First select dock. Here you can move the dock panel to the bottom and also decrease its size. I prefer 36 pixels. The application menu is on the right now, but don't worry, we will fix that later. Next go to the region and languages and add any additional languages if you are multilingual. In the options, I recommend setting different input for each window. That's what I use. You can also see the shortcut is super space. The super key is also known as Windows key. If you press it and space, you will be able to change the input language. Next, click on Manage Installed Packages. You will be offered to install additional packages. You can see them in the details. Install them. Next, go to Devices, Display, and enable the night mode. It will reduce the amount of blue light at night time, which is great for your eyes and sleep. Go back, and in the details, you can change the name of your computer to something that you like. And in the user section, you can also set your profile picture. You're free to explore the rest of the settings yourself. Move application button in dock. When this dock is at the bottom, the location of the application menu is not the most convenient. I would like to see it on the left side. To move it there, open dconf editor, go to org, GNOME, shell, extension, -to dock. Search for Show Apps at top. Turn it on. Now the application menu is located in the right place. Install GNOME Tweak Tool. Search for GNOME Tweak Tool in Synaptic and install it. If you open GNOME Tweak Tool, you will find many useful settings here. We will use some of them later in this video. Install GNOME extensions. Install Chrome GNOME Shell in Synaptic go to the website extensions.gnome.org and search for extensions you like. For example, let's look for Dash2Panel. Install the browser extensions here as well. Allow. Add. OK. Now enable Dash2Panel extension. Install it. Here is a new panel. I believe many users will like it. If you don't like it, you can disable it in the GNOME Tweak tool in the extension section. To uninstall any extension, you open Software Center, go to Installed, scroll to the end, and remove extensions you don't like. You can also install extensions through the Software Center, but I find the web installation more user-friendly. Install Arc Menu. Arc Menu is another GNOME extension, but I present it as another thing to do because it is really cool. Let's install it and you will see. Install. Here's the Arc Menu. It is a more traditional menu, and if you don't like the dashboard menu, you probably will like this one. You can go to GNOME Tweak tool and change its settings. For example, you can change its appearance. I would like to rename it and change its icon. There is one problem, however. You still have this application menu in the bottom panel. Let's remove it. Open dconf editor, go to org, GNOME, shell, extension, dash2doc. Search for Show Apps button and disable it. You can also integrate this Arc menu with Dash2Panel. Open Tweaks and enable Dash2Panel. And in the settings of Dash2Panel, go to Behavior tab and disable the application icon. Now you have a very classical and at the same time modern looking desktop. Install additional themes. If you open Tweaks, you will see options to change your desktop themes. This exclamation sign means the change is not supported. To enable the support of different GNOME shell themes, install User Themes extension. Now we can install different themes. There are several ways you can install icons and themes. You can add repositories. For example, let's install Flat Remix theme, one of the most popular themes. Open Synaptic, go to Settings, Repositories, add the Software tab, and here click Add, and paste this repository address. I'll leave it in the description. Edit and close. You will be asked to reload packages cache. Do that. Next, search for Flat Remix package and install all 3 packages. Close Synaptic and open Tweaks. Now you should see Flat Remix theme among the available themes. Select it. This is one of the possibilities how your desktop can look like. There are many more themes on the website gnomelook.org. Some of these themes can be available as deb packages, for example Masala icon theme. Download these 2 packages You can install such deb packages simply by double-clicking on it and install through the Software Center. It's important to install the color package second, because it depends on the main package. If some themes do not install, you can open the terminal and install it with dpkg with option I and the path to the package. If there is any error, you will be able to read here. You can also find some themes in a tar.gz archive, for example, GNOME OSC theme. Download it, extract the archive. To install such theme, copy the theme folders, go to your home folder, show hidden files, and place them in .themes folder. If you don't have such a folder, create it. Open Twix and choose the newly installed theme. Similarly, you can install shell themes, just place them in the .themes folder. To install icons and cursor themes, you extract them in .icons folder. For example, let's install Papyrus icon theme. Download it, extract, and move to .icons. If you don't have the .icons folder, create it. Restart Twix and select new theme and new icons. Change Firefox settings. Open Preferences. In the section When Firefox starts, select Show windows and tabs from the last time. Now, Firefox will remember the state when you closed it. When you open it next time, you will see the same tabs you had when you closed the browser. Next, I usually click on this panel and select Customize. I remove all these spaces, it is just waste of space, and add search field. This search field is useful when you Google email addresses, for example. Normally the address bar can be used as a search, but if I search for an email address, for example, it will suggest me to log in instead of showing the results. So for this purpose, I use the search field. It works correctly. Enable Netflix support in Firefox. Firefox is a great browser, but unfortunately it won't play Netflix videos by default. But you can easily change that. Navigate to Firefox Preferences and search for DRM. Tick the box Play DRM Control Content, close Firefox, open Synaptic and install libav codec extra. Now Netflix will play all videos with no problem. Tweak LibreOffice. You can speed up the open process for LibreOffice by disabling Java. Go to Tools, Options, and in the Advanced, disable Use Java Runtime Environment. Now when you disable it, LibreOffice will be a little faster. I also like to change the panel view of LibreOffice. If you go to View, Toolbar Layout, you can select Sidebar or Single Toolbar. I like Single Toolbar. You can also open the customization menu of this toolbar and tweak it even further. Some users may prefer Microsoft Office look of LibreOffice. You can enable it by going to the same Advanced Settings and enabling experimental features. Restart, go to View, Toolbar Layout, and select Notebook. Finally, you can also change the icons of LibreOffice. Open Synaptic and install LibreOffice Style Cipher package. After the installation, open LibreOffice, go to Options, View, and select Icon Style Cipher. Now it looks much better. Enable Google Drive integration. Ubuntu has a built-in Google Drive integration. To enable it, you need to go to Settings, Online Accounts. Here you can add different accounts, including Nextcloud, which is a good alternative to Google Drive. You can also set your IMAP business email account here. But let's add Google account. Type your username, your password, give it a permission to access your data. Now your Google Drive account is available from the file manager. If not, try to reboot your system. You can place your files here, and you can also use it for backups, as you will see in the next part. Schedule backups. Ubuntu already has a backup program. Open it from the menu. Here you can define what folders to backup. For example, I will backup my documents. You can also define what you want to exclude. Here you define where you want to backup. You can use Google Drive, Nextcloud, network server, or local storage. I will choose the Google Drive we have configured previously. If you configured online account or your local storage is permanently connected to your computer, it makes sense to configure the backup schedule. I prefer weekly backups that are kept for 6 months. The program asks to install additional packages. Let's do that. You can also encrypt your backup with a password. I don't need that. Now automatic backup is configured. This is a very good tool for new users, but it is quite limited. If you want a more flexible backup tool, please watch my Backup in Linux playlist. I have shown there more advanced backup tools, both the command line and the graphical programs. Remove unnecessary software. Open Software Center, go to Installed Applications, and uninstall all programs you don't need. For example, I usually remove all games. You can also remove the Amazon button, but I recommend you to remove it from the panel, but keep in your menu. When you do shopping, open Amazon for this button. This way, you will support Ubuntu. It will cost you nothing, but it will help a lot to sustain such open source projects as Ubuntu. You can also remove the scanner and printer if you don't use any. If you are an experienced Linux user, you can remove even more packages from the Synaptic Package Manager. For example, you can remove Bluetooth packages if you don't have a Bluetooth like me. But be very careful. You may uninstall some crucial packages as dependencies, so if you're unsure, do not remove anything from Synaptic. But you are free to remove anything from the Software Center. It doesn't have all the packages, but those which are there, they are safe to remove. Turn off Startup Applications. Search for Startup Applications in the menu and open it. As you can see, there aren't many applications. This is because most of them are hidden. To show them, you need to run this command in the terminal. Now, as you can see, your system is loaded with startup applications. All these programs start right after the boot. They slow down your system and use valuable memory. You can disable some of them if you don't need them. For example, I disable Orca Screen Reader, Welcome Screen, Print Notification, Wacom Tablet plugin. If you're unsure about something, don't touch it. This way you can release some resources for your system. Clean System. To keep your system clean, you can install BleachBit. It is an analogous program to CCleaner in Windows. Open it. You can do some settings here. I think whitelist will be very useful. If you don't want to remove files from a specific location ever, add it here. Here you define what you want to clean. I recommend selecting all apt options. apt is a package manager backend. You probably know it if you use a terminal to install and remove packages. it is safe to select it here. You can clean cache of different programs. You can also clean cookies from your browsers. You can also clean temporary files and your trash bin. The rest I recommend not to touch, unless you really know what you are doing. Next, perform this cleaning, confirm, and the cleaning process has started. You can see how much space have been cleaned. If you get this error, permission denied, for apt paths, this means you need to use a root version of BridgeBit. Open it with administrative password and perform apt cleaning again. Now it worked. Use the root version only to clean apt files. For the rest, a standard version will work fine. Install VLC. Ubuntu has a decent video player, but it still may not play some videos or play them incorrectly. I recommend, in addition to that player, also install VLC. You can install it through Synaptic, but I want to show you another graphical way to install programs in Ubuntu. You probably didn't know about it. Type in your browser apt://VLC, press enter, select apt URL. You may also select to remember this option. You can also see in the description what is going to be installed. Let's install it. Enter your password. VLC is installed. Let's open it. Here it is. VLC is probably the best video player not only in Linux, but even in Windows and Mac. It plays all formats. It has a simple interface, but it can also be heavily configured if you want. For example, you can change its interface by installing some skins from here. You can also do some fancy things with it. For example, you can use it to extract frames from a video as images and subsequently create a GIF file from them. I have a video about that. Click here on this card to watch it. The link is in the description as well. Install Google Chrome. Although I'm a fan of Firefox, sometimes I need to check how my website looks in other browsers. So I also install Google Chrome. I also know that some users prefer Chrome over Firefox. There are some valid reasons for this. For example, Google Chrome supports Netflix without any additional configuration, unlike Firefox, as you have seen already. To install it, go to Google Chrome website, download the Debian package, open it, and install. Go to the menu and open it to test. You can make it your default browser if you want, and you can also agree or disagree with sending the crash reports information. Install Dropbox. Dropbox is a very popular cloud syncing application. I personally use it on all my machines. If you still don't have it, I'll leave a link for registration in the description. To install it in Ubuntu, open Synaptic and search for Dropbox. And install Nautilus Dropbox if you use GNOME, which is a default desktop for Ubuntu. If you run Ubuntu Mate or Xubuntu, you will need to install Kaya or Thonar integration of Dropbox, respectively. After the installation, you can start Dropbox. It will ask you to install a proprietary package. Do that. When the installation is complete, a sign-in web page will be open. You can also see the Dropbox icon in your system tray. It's already running. You only need to sign in with your account to start syncing. After that, you should see the message that your computer is linked with your account. The Dropbox icon should change to syncing icon after that. Dropbox is installed and working. Install Skype. Skype is getting less popular, but it is still widely used, especially by new Linux users. So if you need it, you can install it from the Software Center. Your Skype should be available in the menu. Open it. The first open is very slow for some reasons, so just wait. Next time it will open fast. When it opens, sign in, and you can start using it. Before you do any call, you may also want to open settings and test your audio and video. If something doesn't work, you will need to Google your problem. Skype troubleshooting is beyond this video. Install Spotify. Spotify is also available in the Software Center. Install it. Log in, and you are ready to listen to your favorite music. Laptop tweaks. If you are a user of a laptop, you may want to increase and optimize your battery life. You can do that by installing TLP packages. After the installation, open the terminal and start that program with sudo tlp start. You will need to enter your password blindly and press enter. Now TLP will improve the battery life of your laptop. Personally, I can use Ubuntu 18.04 only after all these measures. What about you? Do you find any of these 30 things to do after installing Ubuntu 18.04 useful? Please comment on this video. I usually reply all the comments and I definitely read all of them. Given the users' feedback on other similar videos, it seems the only sensible thing to do after installing Ubuntu 18.04 is to install another distro. Linux Mint is probably the best candidate. So if you consider installing Linux Mint, I have a whole playlist dedicated to Linux Mint, including a video similar to this, 15 things to do after installing Linux Mint. If you are curious about my opinion about Ubuntu 18.04, I can say it has not changed much since my review of Ubuntu 17.10, so you can watch it here, it should appear on the screen. Thank you for watching.